Journey to the heart of Atlanta, where this park provides recreation, community building, and a solution to devastating flooding for this historic neighborhood. Let's explore Cook Park. I'm your host, Missy Rentz, and this is the Parks Podcast. I'm so excited to welcome Jay Wozniak to the Parks Podcast. He is the director of the Georgia-Alabama Urban Parks at Trust for Public Land. Jay, welcome to the Parks Podcast.
Hi, Missy. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to talk about Cook Park, which is our focus for today. It's in Atlanta. And I start every episode where I just go through some stats just to give everybody a background of where's this park we're talking about and why are we talking about it. So I'm going to run through those and then we'll start talking about the park. So Cook Park is located in Atlanta, Georgia. It was created on June 29th, 2021. It is 16 acres of pure beauty in the city. And just some notes about it, it was a floodplain in the area. And then in 2002, a flood displaced 60 families from the area. And so then the park was created in a partnership with the city of Atlanta and Trust for Public Land. And you worked your magic, which you're going to tell us all about it. And it now eliminates flooding of about 150 acres around the park. The park can hold 10 million gallons of water, and then it gradually releases it after it's been treated to eliminate any sort of contamination. The park was put to test. You all made the park. It opened in 2021. And then in 2024, Hurricane Helene flooded the park, but not the community. So we quickly got a test to show how it works. And features of the park were a collaboration with the community. So it's home to walking paths and workout equipment, basketball courts, playgrounds, and a ton of green space for playing and relaxing. Jay, this park is incredible. I think it's amazing ecologically and visually, and it's just such a great park.
Thanks, Missy. It's a special place for sure, not just what ended up being designed and constructed and now being used as a park, but just from a historic perspective, this is a neighborhood that some could argue as being the center of the civil rights movement in Atlanta. This is a neighborhood that, even though it had a strong community of activists for decades, unfortunately, over the years, just had not a lot of investment put into it. And that's what caused the flooding that occurred there over years. You mentioned the floodplain. This site, the 16-acre site, was actually 16 acres of single-family, multifamily homes that were built on top of a creek. And Proctor Creek was channelized in a pipe and buried, and land was made to build new homes in the 1930s. When more and more residents came to the neighborhood and more development occurred in the area, unfortunately, the infrastructure improvements didn't keep up with it. And so it wasn't just stormwater issues and stormwater flooding that occurred in this neighborhood for a long time. It was also sewage overflows. And that had to do with the fact that, like many large cities, still to this day across the country, have combined sewer systems. And so what that means is that stormwater and sewer are going into the same pipes, going to a water treatment facility. And if there's a backup in the system, that unfortunately, it's not just stormwater that's coming out of the storm grates, it's sewage too. And that event that took place in 2002 that you mentioned was the last straw. The city of Atlanta realized that these residents needed to be relocated to other places. This was not a place for anyone to live. And over my years working in the neighborhood and getting to know the residents, I heard quite a bit of stories about that day. Fortunately, no one was killed, even though people had 6 feet of storm water and sewage in their living rooms in some cases. But yeah, it's taken a remarkable transformation from that day up until when we cut the ribbon in June of 2021.
So this is the first time I'm featuring a city park. And I think oftentimes when people talk about parks, they think about the big national parks, or maybe they think of a prominent state park near them. And I think we tend to neglect the benefits or neglect thinking about the benefits of those local parks and what impact they have on the community. You do a lot of work, you and Trust for Public Land do a lot of work in local parks. Why are they so important?
Parks are important for a number of reasons, especially local neighborhood parks. This is where people meet. This is where they connect with others. If they don't want to connect, certainly they're going out for their own improvement, for their own mental well-being, whether that's just being outside, breathing fresh air, listening to moving water, listening to the birds. It's also exercising. The stats don't lie in terms of the value that parks have, not just for those residents that use them from a health perspective, but so many of the parks that Trust for Public Land works on are also providing multiple benefits from an environmental perspective. And there's no better example than what's been done at Cook Park. Cook Park is managing stormwater and reducing flooding. We're bringing tree canopy back to the neighborhood. And we
Mm,
all know the value that trees bring to a neighborhood. We are focused on building parks that are making those residents who live in the area within a 10-minute walk healthier, but are also bringing those added benefits to the city and to the community by making neighborhoods more resilient.
yeah. So, okay, I just kind of want to set the stage, and this is my experience there. You're driving through the city, and it's a normal city that you would expect. And then all of a sudden, the sidewalks are normal, but it's kind of like a block drops. Is kind of how I felt. Like suddenly, the park is kind of lower than the sidewalks. And tell me a little bit about the process of creating this park and what you all did to make it be able to hold 10 million gallons.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of layers to the park, both literally and figuratively, in terms of how we ended up at the final design. This neighborhood is in a low topographic part of the city. And because of that, it caused flooding over the years, urban flooding. We're far from an open body of water in the Vine City neighborhood. Since the event that occurred in 2002, there was ideas and thoughts about what could happen to this space and how does this connect into other low topographic points in West Atlanta. And there was a park system strategy that was developed called the Proctor Creek North Avenue study. And what it did, it looked at the chain of low topographic points in the West Atlanta neighborhoods, and it looked at it through the lens of green infrastructure. How can water be captured and managed to reduce urban flooding? And so within this document, it basically pointed out that this 16-acre site was the most important. And
Mhm.
it was going to affect everything else downstream, literally before water makes its way to the Chattahoochee River. It's hard to believe, but from 2002 to 2014, there wasn't a lot of activity in terms of actually implementing this project because it was a complicated site. There's buried utilities, there's contaminated soil, there's a lot of layers and from a local political perspective and in terms of getting this thing moving forward. And fortunately, the stars aligned when Trust for Public Land was asked to be a part of this. And the stars were different philanthropic activities taking place in the neighborhood. There was a new football stadium that was being built in the area. More than just football, they host a whole variety of different events and activities. But it was an opportunity for everyone to look at, okay, how is the city going to responsibly and sustainably invest in the West Atlanta neighborhoods? And so Trust for Public Land was asked to basically orchestrate the community engagement, design, and construction of Cook Park. And the reason we were asked was based on our experience working in Atlanta. At that time, we had been working in Atlanta for about 20 to 25 years with different projects. Those in Atlanta are certainly familiar with the Beltline, or have visited Atlanta are familiar with the Beltline. We were the ones who got that effort off the ground. Trust for Public Land Atlanta was the organization that acquired the properties around Dr. King's birthplace home in East Atlanta in order to make that a park unit. And we've been involved with the acquisition of thousands of acres along the Georgia coast and that Chattahoochee River. So Trust for Public Land was asked by the city of Atlanta and a significant donor to get this project moving. And so I was brought on board and hired to really try and figure out how to get this done. And so for over 6 years, We worked very closely with the community to understand their expectations and their desires and what they wanted to see. But in addition to that, we also knew that at the end of the day, we had to design a space that was going to collect and manage 9 million gallons of stormwater. Like I said, there's a lot of layers to this, and there's a lot of coordination and conversations, and that's what Trust for Public Land does. And so over the years, over 6 years, we got it done. And there's a lot of stories out on site. If anyone ever comes to Atlanta, I'm always happy to give a tour. It probably takes a couple hours, but there's a lot of nuances to the project. And at the end of the day, it's something that we're all very certainly proud of because it shows the power of parks. It shows that parks can be much more than just a collection of recreational elements and spaces. Parks can be an engineering marvel that can really restore the health of a neighborhood and a city. At Trust for Public Land, we've certainly gotten some significant attention with Cook Park, and whether it's nationally or internationally, we've shown that we can create projects that really improve the entire community and the environment at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
And I do think a lot of times people think my local park is there because we needed soccer fields, which is important, or basketball courts or whatever it is. And the recreation is important. But when you dig a little deeper and you realize the environmental impact or the community impact that the park is there for, it makes it even more fascinating. One of the things I really like that you said is the community input. What was important to this community for the park?
From the very beginning, from the get-go, it's having trust with who's a part of the project. And
Mm,
so for years, even over those 6 years, it was an ongoing process in terms of earning trust and relationship building. And no other neighborhood in Atlanta is probably that as important as in Vine City.
mm,
Unfortunately, because of promises that weren't delivered upon and the lack of investment, there was just a lot of uncertainty of if whether or not this was going to happen. And so that was key to the community. And once Trust for Public Land earned that trust with individuals, we really got to hear truly what people wanted. You heard we wanted a splash pad. And it wasn't just the kids that wanted a splash pad, a water element that's shooting jets out of the ground. It was the seniors who were saying that because they wanted to have their kids in the neighborhood experience the same type of space that other Atlantans are experiencing across the city. Obviously, active recreation. We got sports courts out there. The sports courts are lined not just for basketball, but for futsal and foursquare, and there's a track out there. So it's just one of those examples of where we have a space with multiple activities, wide walking trails, not just so you can walk like four people abreast through the park, but these paths were designed to be set up for 10-foot by 10-foot festival tents when the festivals occur in Cook Park. And shade, benches, it's a lot of the stuff that in parks, well-designed parks, and it's simple. It's simple
yeah.
stuff. There's nothing more exciting than when the Jets get turned on Memorial Day weekend at Cook Park because it's the official
Yeah.
opening to summer
Yeah.
in Vine City.
Some of the things that struck me when I was visiting that I think are unique to the park, not all parks, but maybe to your point, well-designed parks. The workout equipment, there's this whole area where everything that you see in a gym, you can see there, and you have, I mean, it's Atlanta, it's hot, and you have these great canopies over them. I loved that. There was some art there, which I thought was just really beautiful and worth taking a minute to reflect on. There's this series of bridges that go over a lake. So in the middle of the city, you have these great pond grasses, and you have, I think it was a duck that was making Tootsie crazy, but you have some wildlife, and just some of those are some elements that I don't think of in a major city's park. And it was brought to life at Cook Park. And it just, God, it just like you felt yourself exhale a little bit as you're walking around it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people see Cook Park as a bit of an oasis. It's so close to
Yes.
downtown. And
Great word. Great
when
word.
you do visit it, you see the skyline of Atlanta
Yeah.
and you realize you're only blocks away. But it's these spaces that were planned and designed for that allow for those unique activities. I'm glad you mentioned the workout equipment. We worked very closely with a neighborhood fitness organization that's focused on providing affordable fitness opportunity to residents of the neighborhood. They helped us select that equipment. They helped us lay it out so that we understood exactly how is someone going to go through this series of equipment to get the best workout that they can get. What's funny is when you go out there and you see the local firehouse running around once a week, and after they do their laps, they end up jumping on the workout equipment to get their exercise in. Right next to the workout equipment are the first two outdoor climbing boulders in the city of Atlanta. That we're very fortunate to have been partnered with the North Face on that because two things. It allowed residents in this part of Atlanta to be exposed to the sport of bouldering. Otherwise, kids, adults would not be aware of that. But the coolest part of that space was that it was designed by the community. And so it was designed by basically kids and young teenagers through some workshops that Trust for Public Land hosted and facilitated and introduced them to the value of parks and the sport of climbing. And then at the end of that, at the very last workshop, the kids got to climb at a local climbing gym, and then they put their hands in clay to shape those climbing boulders. There's these moments in the park that, and the climbing boulders is certainly one of my top three, where it is a great example of the community shaping what you see. And then those folks involved with that can come back 5, 10, 15 years later and say, I did that. And so
Yeah.
that's pretty special. I'm glad you mentioned the art. And I think that's one of the most tangible connections in terms of how this site connects to the rich history of the neighborhood. There's a mural out there that is themed around Magnolia Ballroom, which is a music venue that stood in the neighborhood 2 blocks from this site, and it was the musical venue for every single Black musician who passed through Atlanta in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. That building does not exist. Most people don't even know that building stood, but we're able to remember it in Cook Park. There's another mural that's based on the local neighborhood leaders who really picked up the torch and ran with it in Vine City and nearby English Avenue after the 60s. And so it's an opportunity to share with visitors to the park really who has continued to rally the neighborhood and get stuff done. And
Yeah.
it harkens back to really the history of activism in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and I think that's another point I want to talk about because you and I both have a love and do a lot of work on the civil rights parks. And this, you guys did such an incredible job through art, through statues of honoring our civil rights leaders and honoring the role that this neighborhood in Atlanta played in civil rights movement.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you go to a park, and some people pick up on this and some people don't, but it's just like, how do you connect with that history? Is it a plaque? Is it a statue? Is it art? And so there's a little bit of all of those in Cook Park. I mentioned the murals. There are currently 3 statues in the park right now, one of Congressman John Lewis, one of Ambassador Andrew Young, and one of Dr. Martin Luther King. And there's likely going to be more installed over the years.
Mm.
These are things that we heard from the community. And at the end of the day, I think it's important to accept that when a park opens, it's only the foundation for much more to occur. I've seen Cook Park evolve quite a bit over the past 5 years since it's opened. It's very exciting. We had an incredible design consultant team and obviously engaged the community in terms of determining what should go into the park. But the fact of the matter is that park spaces evolve. And when you have passionate neighborhood leaders and residents who are able to recognize that and then find the funding and will to make those changes, then things do change. So yeah, it's been really great to see that refinement of the park since it's opened.
Yeah, I often think that people don't understand that value. And one thing that's the Trust for Public Land pillars are equity, climate, and public health. And I often think when going through parks like this, when I'm in that more contemplative mode, not just there for recreation, that this park in particular, the health benefits, and yes, invest in it because we're providing clean water, we're providing safety, we're providing all of these other things for our community. Why, when looking at those pillars, what impact have you seen in the community since Cook Park has started?
I think the most obvious is actually the community building. And we see this with pretty much all the parks that Trust for Public Land works on across the country. And what's key to our engagement and participatory design is getting people involved. And when they get involved, they build, obviously you're building trust with them, but you're also basically pulling out this sense or need of responsibility in from the community in terms of actually taking care of the space once it's opened. And so everyone knows, and I know that there's people who listen to this podcast who struggle with this on a daily basis. How do we maintain our parks? And it's tough. Parks are great, but it does require the community to have that extra set of eyes on a site and pick up that extra piece of litter that maybe didn't make its way into the waste receptacle. We're building ownership over these parks with the work that we do. It's exciting to see the festivals and activities that take place out there. Some are programs, some are not. There's walking groups that take place on a regular basis out there almost weekly. There's festivals that occur. I was out of town, unfortunately, but I know Atlanta's Caribbean Festival was there for the second time in a row. And after seeing the photographs, it was quite a party.
Yeah.
And that was the intent of the space, was to not just pull people from the neighborhood, but pull people from the
Yeah.
city and make this a true gathering place.
And it's super inclusive. I was walking with my dog, and a young gentleman stopped me to say, I have a big RV and everything. I'm clearly a visitor. He wanted to know what brought me there, why I was there. But then he said, are you going to be around this weekend? We have this great festival. You should come to this festival. And I was like, God, you already feel like you're part of the community there.
Yeah, it's special. Whenever I'm out there, I'm always running into people that I haven't seen in a while. And I don't live near the park, but based on my time working on the project and getting to know the residents, it is my second home in Atlanta. It's always fun to run across people you haven't seen in a while, but probably my most favorite thing to do at Cook Park is just observe how it's getting used.
Okay, one thing I want to get into with you is that Trust for Public Land has a goal of having a park within a 10-minute walk from every home in the country. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
I think that's incredible. And within 10 minutes of Cook Park, there's 3,671 residents. How does a park impact a neighborhood? And how has that program changed people all over the country?
Well, it takes time to truly see the health benefits of residents in a neighborhood around a new park. Same thing with behavioral changes. We know that over time, Vine City, English Avenue are going to be much healthier than they were before, not just because we created a space for them to exercise, but the fact that we are managing stormwater, which is reducing flooding and reducing mold and in certain conditions in some of these homes. It's it is great is going to greatly impact and improve not just the physical well-being of folks who live nearby, but also the mental and psychological well-being. That's Cook Park specific, but across the country, there's pockets of parks, and whether they're a half an acre or 16 acres, there's opportunity to make changes for the better. And obviously, those opportunities exist. And when you have the right people in place to not just design them, but then carry the torch after they're done. It's who knows how these are all going to improve the neighborhoods where they live, whether it's managing stormwater, adding tree canopy, or what have you. It's we know that the work that Trust for Public Land does truly impacts the public health of where we work. It certainly makes the communities more resilient. And a lot of this work is taking place in neighborhoods where it's needed most.
Jay, I know Trust for Public Land and this park in particular really depended on the community. You've talked about community several times. What does it mean for a community to come together? Who is that?
Missy, I'm so glad you brought that up because with a park like Cook Park, obviously the residents play a big role in this project. But at Cook Park, this project would not have been possible without the other nonprofits that we worked with. Trees Atlanta, Path Foundation, a number of others. The city of Atlanta is focused on delivering public projects as a village, as a group project mentality. And if we don't have the donors who we've earned the trust of, Cook Park would not have been possible. So we're fortunate to have the donors locally and nationally who believe in the work that we do. And then, as importantly, these projects across the country that we work on are not possible without the very innovative design consultants who make these projects a reality, landscape architects, engineers, ecologists, whole collection of folks. And then at the end of the day, it's the contractors who implement this vision. I was fortunate over 6 years to get to know and work with these people on a daily basis. So to see it from an idea of the community and then working with the designers and then actually work with the contractors, there's nothing more rewarding than that. And at the ribbon cutting, to see everyone together as the community celebrating is definitely the highlight of this entire project.
It's got to be really beautiful to see the collective ownership of this space. And I think it comes across when you visit the pride that everybody has in this community park. It's really beautiful.
Certainly. Everyone who's a part of the project and continues to use the park are extremely proud of Cook Park. They know how much it brings to their neighborhood, to their families. Without that passion, without this expertise, Cook Park would not have become a reality.
Yeah, I love it. Let's talk about planning a visit to Cook Park. It's a pretty easy one to plan a visit to. It's located really close to other very historic parts of Atlanta. So it's an easy stop if you're doing like visiting Martin Luther King's Jr.'s birthplace. What do you need to think about when coming to Cook Park?
There's a variety of options to actually arrive at Cook Park. And so you don't need a car.
Which is good because parking can be challenging.
Parking can be challenging. And this is a neighborhood park. There's no parking lot. There's no parking garage. There's on-street parking. This is how the best city parks are designed. They fit right into the neighborhood. And we end up using that space that would have been used for pavement and parking structures for even more green space and trees and park elements. There's a MARTA station 2 blocks away. MARTA is Atlanta's transit system. So you can certainly walk from there. A lot of folks who visit Cook Park are actually visiting the Georgia World Congress Center, which is where a lot of our pretty much all of our conferences and conventions are held. So in some of those floors of the conference center, you can actually look over and see, oh my gosh, that's a really great park 2 blocks from here. So it's gotten quite a bit of attention, which is good. So I think in terms of things you need to bring to Cook Park, there's a lot of stuff that's already there. There's bathrooms, there's running water, there's water fountains, there's a whole variety of different activities that will keep people interested. And that's people of all ages, whether it's the playground, splash pad, sports courts, or open fields for the kids. If you're older and you just want to find a place to get away from it all, there's certainly a bunch of shaded areas for seniors to rest. I think the one thing I would recommend people bring to Cook Park is a blanket, because there's nothing better than just setting up a blanket and having a picnic there.
Absolutely, right? There was a big tree right off there's multiple, but there was a person sitting on a blanket under a tree, and it just looked so appealing, and thought, "Oh, the hours you could spend watching people and enjoying a little bit of nature." I when I went to go Google and learn about all of the activities there, I had to do a little bit of searching, and I found Atlanta Area Parks website to be really good. Is there any other place that you recommend people go to learn more about Cook Park?
There is a Atlanta Area Parks is a great website, great
It's
photography too.
spectacular. Oh my gosh, and it's like I've never seen the detail that go into, like, explaining what's in a park. It's amazing.
Yep, I would start there. Also look at City of Atlanta's Department of Parks and Rec website. In order to learn more about Cook Park, there's a great explanation on the Conservancy Group's website. There is a group called the Alliance for Cook Park, and basically this is the Parks Conservancy Group and the folks who are responsible for managing the care and stewardship of the site in addition to the Parks Department. But yeah, check out Trust for Public Land's website to learn more about Cook Park. There's a lot of information about Cook Park out there. Trust for Public Land is always excited to tell its story.
Yeah, and I'll put links to all of these websites in the episode notes. So, Jay, when we wrap up every episode, we do a speed round of questions. Just answer with what first comes to mind. What is your earliest park memory?
I would say my earliest park memory is actually camping with my parents and my sister and seeing, I feel like all of the state parks across Ohio. We did a lot of camping growing up.
What made you love the parks?
Just love being outside. It's why I chose the profession of being a landscape architect, probably. And whether it's just being with other people or just truly going on my own to explore, there's so much to see wherever you are outside.
What is your favorite thing about Cook Park?
Probably my favorite thing about Cook Park is knowing and living really the coordination and design of that project. It is so fun now to go out there and talk about why things are the way that they are. So I love all parts and pieces of Cook Park.
What's your favorite thing to do at Cook Park?
I would say my favorite thing to do at Cook Park is just observing people. Like I said before, it's really neat to see how people use the park, and I certainly continue to learn about things maybe we could have done differently, or and also see things we did right.
What park have you yet to visit, but it's on your bucket list, and why?
So a park that's on my bucket list is actually Baxter State Park in Maine. I've spent some time on the Appalachian Trail and get out once a year and try to click off 70, 80 miles, but I hope to be standing on Katahdin here soon.
What are three must haves you pack for a park visit?
Like most folks, probably packing water and sunblock, but it's usually what's on me that's important for me when I go out in a park. It's handkerchiefs. I usually always have a bandana on me, even if I'm not outside. If I'm in a park or getting ready to go out, I usually have two, especially with two small boys. And I'm a bit of a sock snob. So if I am hiking, I got to make sure I've got the right socks on.
What is your favorite campfire activity?
Probably my two favorite campfire activities are cooking in pie irons, whether that's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. But probably my second is just hanging out around a campfire and laughing with friends. There's nothing better for me than hearing five different conversations going on and then zeroing in on or dialing in on the one that everyone's most interested in.
And are you in a tent, camper, or cabin?
I'm definitely a tent guy.
Do you hike with or without trekking poles?
I hike with poles for sure.
What is your favorite trail snack?
So my two favorite trail snacks are Slim Jims and Rice Krispie treats, believe it or not.
And what is your best animal sighting?
I would say probably seeing moose in Grand Teton National Park a couple years ago with my family. It was just so cool to see moose in their natural environment.
What's your favorite sound in the park?
I would say at Cook Park or other, say, small neighborhood parks, it's kids laughing. There's nothing better than that for me. If it's in a much bigger, say a national park or state park, it's the sound of moving water that I really like.
And what's the greatest gift that parks give to us?
I think the greatest gift and the most important gift is the opportunity to connect with others, whether or not you want that. It's a place for community, and we have seen that quite a bit over the years, and very fortunate to be working with the Trust for Public Land, who's really focused on that mission.
Jay, I am so grateful to you for talking to us about Cook Park, getting us a little bit more interested in exploring our local parks. And I'm excited to come back and maybe take you up on that offer of a tour because I could learn more about it.
Well, it was great chatting with you, Missy, and thanks for this opportunity.
Thanks for listening to this episode. Until next